Hey everybody, welcome to the Artists Alley Aftermath podcast for Faith and Fandom. This is specifically for Galaxycon Raleigh 2026, reviewing the show, the experience, and my adventures along the way. Hope y'all are doing good. I am also on live with TikTok while I'm recording this, so I might be popping over for responding some questions there as well. But it's officially over in terms of my biggest show of the year. Galaxycon Raleigh, in terms of being the biggest commitments, the most attendance, and a lot of other aspects that play into Galaxycon being one of the biggest shows of the year for me. So let's get to it. I will say out the gate, I was not as prepared as I needed to be in terms of books. In terms of having everything I needed. I wasn't gratefully underprepared, but I also definitely could have used a few more things. But I had enough, which was the important thing. One thing to also add to the knowledge of this was my first time officially since my very first con not doing t-shirts anymore. That I've stopped doing t-shirts, and I can say that out of 4 days I had maybe 4 people come to the booth specifically for t-shirts and obviously leave disappointed, but it was not the bulk of the response or anything of that nature. But still, it was a good experience. Hey y'all, how you doing? But a 4-day show at any point in time is going to require a lot of prep and a lot of things of that nature. So let's go through our notes. Let's go through our posts and see what's up. First off, I drove up. I left for Galaxycon Raleigh Thursday morning at 6 a.m. Maybe about 6:30. It was raining, which made it a lot harder, honestly, just for me to kind of get going and get moving with that. And as got there about 8 to 8:30. And it was pouring down rain. Like, I'm talking just straight pouring rain. And so, even just getting into the door and unloading my first load of equipment, I was drenched pretty much to the bone right out the gate. Now, because I wasn't doing shirts at this show, I had I had 2 less boxes. And out of those 2 less boxes, it made the load in a little bit easier because nothing was over my head and nothing was really, that hard to lift. I didn't have to actually lift a lot of stuff to get in there. It was just slide it out of my trunk and get the stuff loaded right into the cart. Now, everything was wet, everything was soaking, everything was drenched, and but for the most part, nothing totally got damaged. Now, I have a plastic rack that holds the stickers that go on my booth, and hey, Hori, I have a plastic rack that holds the stickers on my booth, and as soon as I stepped in the convention center, the floor was so wet from the rain that I slipped, spilled all the signage that I had just had printed for the show, and ended up stepping on my plastic sticker rack and broke the corner off of it. It was still moderately functional, but definitely broke it on the process going in. But that being said, outside of being completely drenched and semi-broken equipment, it wasn't the worst case for load-in. Got up to the 4th floor. Also, because I was one of the first vendors there loading in that morning, they hadn't opened the freight elevator yet. And so I had to go in the normal elevator, which just made the process longer. Now, by the time I came back down, they'd opened the freight elevator. But I don't expect all these security guards to know everything they're supposed to be doing for all these artists, because it's new to them as well. I get up to the place, start unloading, and it's a long, slow process because it's a very tight space to be able to get all of these artists in one spot, to be able to do it the way that it's set up for. And so what would normally take me an hour and a half took about 3 to 4 hours. And I got in there at 8:30. I think I changed into dry clothes about 1 o'clock and finally sat down at my booth. Now, somewhere in there, I made 2 more trips to the car in the rain, parked my car, did all this stuff in a parking garage. But it took me about 3 hours to set up. And I was not feeling it from being wet for that long, and for just, but it is what it is. It's just, you can't fight the weather sometimes. Got set up, got the booth together, and if you check out our pictures on socials, I feel like I was pretty happy with the display setup for the show. Again, it's the first show without t-shirts, and it's the first show with the attorney and the Faith and Fandom books on the same table, and still trying to make space. So that was a juggle all by itself. But show kicked off at 2 o'clock. They initially came in and asked if we wanted the show to start at 1:30 for us, because that was an option to start early, and everybody said no. And so we started right at 2 o'clock. The first dude that came by the table brought me one of those little Jesus figures. And this is no hate, but I'm not a big fan of those little Jesus figures. One, because most of them are super Caucasian, and I just don't love them. But this one was a little browner, so I'll give it some credit. The show started out pretty smoothly. I started drawing, started sketching. I was there on Thursday all by myself, so wanted to get things done as quickly as possible. I know Ashley came by and said, "Hey," from Fangirling Over Jesus before the show started, and it was good. It was encouraging. One of the first dudes I met was a young guy named Elijah, and Elijah was there with a group of, I want to say, about 7 other teenagers to early college students. They were young adults. I'm old now, so it's hard for me to gauge how old people are just by looking at them these days. I just know they're younger. But Elijah had a squad of probably about 8 students, adults, college leaders, somewhere in there. And that they were there, honestly, just to pray for people and to be an encouragement throughout the show. So I'm not even talking like they were outside doing stuff. Like, they were just walking around, building conversations, being encouragements to people, praying for them. And honestly, they were doing a pretty bang up job in the fact that they managed to do that for 3 days and do it well enough that it wasn't a problem. And I was hearing people responding to them all the days that I was there. And they were just doing a good job. So there was a whole squad of folks that were doing that. But let's see. Tech Warrior sales pitch. I don't know what that note was. Somebody gave me something that said, I don't remember what it was, a Tech Warrior sales pitch. Either way, I don't know. I made a note. Some of these notes are 5 days old, so I don't remember. Part of our display for the attorney, which is my fantasy novel, has dice where you can roll them, and people were definitely stealing dice. I watched one dude steal a couple dice, and he kept making passes to steal more. And I made enough eye contact with him that he could know that I knew, but I also wasn't going to be directly mean to him about it. But yeah, one gentleman came by and he said that he used to be in youth ministry, but he was not in youth ministry anymore, and that Faith and Fandom got him through all the years of his youth ministry in terms of curriculum and encouragement, and that was nice to hear. Definitely was. Yeah. I don't know what this is. Lack of short. Oh, there were people unhappy by the lack of shirts. There's a lady who runs a craft and art thing called Chewy's Den, and they're just good. Like, their whole family is delightful and wonderful and encouraging. And she came by and bought a bunch of peanut sketches and checked on me, and we talked to them all throughout the weekend, and they were just a huge encouragement as well. Just their family as a whole, really appreciated them. Elijah's crew kept coming through, and at one point they stopped to pray for me before the day was over, and even one of them gave me a donation for Faith and Fandom, and it was a very humbling donation. I'm used to somebody giving donations every now and again. This is a very young person who was there doing boots on the ground ministry at this con and gave a donation, and it definitely was humbling in that capacity. But I was grateful. But the first day went pretty much without a hitch. I'm only there from 2 to 6, so it's not like the craziest day. Now, my boss from the college that I do marketing and graphics and media for came with her grandson, and she had been asking me questions about Galaxycon for weeks and months before the show. And so, like, she stopped by with her grandson, and it definitely was not the worst experience, but it was definitely an overwhelming experience for her to kind of see how all that stuff played out. But then some of those other folks with Elijah's crew and that were doing like the prayer and stuff around there, they came by and said that they actually met my boss and prayed for her, and that they kind of interacted with her. So it was a neat experience overall with them. Let's see. There's one dude that was in a Monsters Inc. onesie. There was a young lady named Jenna, I believe. There was a dude in a Minions onesie. They were just cool folks. There's also a dude who was a really good Resident Evil 4 cosplayer. And he was in the chainsaw garb from Resident Evil 4. There was a guy from Trigun cosplayer, which I've watched so many new animes over the last year that these cosplays are making a lot more references that I'm getting. And I drew an Agamemnon from the Odyssey, and 2 characters from Dr. Stone, I think, were the main characters I drew that day, as well as Keyfree from Witch Atelier was a great cosplay. There's also a really good Stark and the dude from Sinners. One of the things that I was doing at the show is that I brought a bag of little books to give to Free-Ren cosplayers. If you are familiar with Free-Ren as an anime, one of the things is that she collects grimoires, little books. So every time a Free-Ren cosplayer walked by, I would say I have grimoires for Free-Ren. And so that was just a cool experience with that. Thursday nights, left the show and got stopped by a lady in the parking deck who asked me if I would charge her cell phone. And I'm not saying that this lady was scamming me or that my life was in danger, but anytime a strange woman asks me to take her cell phone into my car, I'm like, this is dangerous. I'm not doing this. So I said, tell you what, I will give you my cell phone charger and the little charger thing it goes into. And she's like, well, I'll find you at the show. And I told her where I was, and she said she'd find me. She never found me, never brought my stuff back, but I also didn't really expect her to. I just knew I didn't want to be sitting in a parking lot waiting for somebody to charge her phone, but I also didn't want to leave her hanging. But she was trying to leave the parking deck, and her cash was on her phone. So yeah, I was just trying to be faithful with also not getting killed, because that's how horror movies start. But yeah, I went to the hotel and checked in. Where did I ate at Waffle House, which was next to the hotel. But one of the neat things was the lady at the hotel asked me if I wanted to set up a display of my business cards and stuff for the booth at the hotel so that people going to Galaxycon could actually see my booth, which is pretty neat. I've never had that happen before. But yeah. Let's see. Waffle House. On Friday morning, I wore my Senshi cosplay from Delicious in Dungeon for a while on Friday morning, but it got so hot inside my helmet that I was sweating down all over the place, and like it was just too hot to breathe with all the wigs and the beard and everything else. So I swapped out of that and just put on some Loki horns. And I went to do my discussion panel. It was a really good panel. Had, I'd say, an 85% full room for that. Good discussions from people that weren't believers, the people were believers, just kind of all over the place in terms of what was being shared and what was being encouraged. And then afterwards, or also shout out to Ashley, who brought me boba to the discussion panel and helped be part of the panel. Ashley from Fangirling Over Jesus saving the day with that one. And so as I went to the panel, we did that. It was good. Then I had a couple come up to me at the booth afterwards, and like one of the things we talked about was like people having different convictions on things, and there was a couple that was having a not necessarily a disagreement, but they were in different places over their perspectives on entertainment, and like we just kind of had like a mini premarital counseling discussion about it, which was kind of neat. Oh, but it was good. The discussion panel was good. I do have the recording of it. It will take time, a lot more time to edit than I have currently at the moment, but I do plan to get that edited and up at some point in time. Shirts. People were disappointed that the shirts were missing. I met a dude who came from a podcast that is breaking down hopeful spiritual content found in pop culture and stuff, and the podcast is called Hope Arc. And a little bit later, somebody else, like maybe 2 days later, somebody else came by and said, "Oh, a friend of ours has started a podcast." I was like, "Is it called Hope Arc?" And they're like, "Yeah." Like, so that was just kind of neat that actually, and I kept it. I have his business card. I'm going to check it out. And somebody came by and also said that, they wanted to remind me that what I'm doing is always important, and that I might not think it is, and that people may not tell me that, but that what I'm doing is always important. And yeah. And then another really good interaction I had on Friday was there was a mom who is a youth leader. We didn't really talk about it, but like she was just saying that this could help her connect with her kid personally, as well as her kids that she worked with. And like, she even got teary eyed about it because she was, I think was just searching for ways to connect, and which is always a big thing. To be able to connect with your family, to be able to connect with the kids that you're put in charge of. So that was neat. Young lady named Madison, who was an Odyssey junkie, came and bought my Agamemnon, which I didn't think was actually going to sell. But that was cool. And I was starting to, it was just, it was good. Friday night, after the show was over, did I do any other posts for Friday? Okay, let me hit up a couple other things that were really good Friday. There was a fantastic Dr. Stone Breaking Bad combo cosplay, which I do think is my favorite cosplay of the whole weekend. And considering I just started watching Dr. Stone, it made it more fun. I drew a good buggy. There was a Gear 5 Bonnie from One Piece that gave me a jar of golden years, which is, I love cosplayer gifts. My friend Danielle came by on Friday too, which was nice. Oh yeah, I'm only on Friday. That was nice. Saw some 21 Pilots cosplayers and was able to give them some stickers and be encouraged with them. Yeah, there was a lot of good Naruto cosplayers that I've noticed now that I've watched Naruto, which I did appreciate. But after I left the show that night, I went to, hey homie, what's up Julie? Good to see you. After I left the show on Friday night, I went to a place called Buffalo Brothers for dinner, and it was pretty good. Had like some pizza and Southwest egg rolls and stuff, but I was literally on the verge of passing out just from exhaustion at that point. And then Saturday is the big day at Galaxycon. It's the everybody and your mama day, the day that they're overcrowded. And realistically speaking, it was so overcrowded that it was like there was almost no point some of Saturday and even being there because people can't stop. And I know people were having panic attacks, people were stressed out, people were frustrated. I was getting frustrated with people because people's attitudes were getting sucky because they were sitting there. Like one couple like reached down and picked up a handful of trash from the floor and just sat it on my table, and that annoyed me. And then like other people were mocking and doing like just offensive things, and normally I'm cool, like I can handle it, but I think the pressure of everything was getting very pressure cookery on Saturday with that. But yeah, it was a lot. Yeah, I put in my notes for Saturday that people's level of audacity and rudeness was at an all-time high. Also, by Saturday afternoon, people were actually kind of drunk. Like some of the adults were, which is, yeah, not great. Also on Saturday, I wore my Kuma cosplay from One Piece, and that got a good amount of love. I did appreciate the reception that I got with that. And somebody was comparing the us to the protesters outside, which is, saying, it was a positive comparison, but still it was a conversation that was being had. I want to shout out to the Glens because at one point I was like by myself at the booth and I was running low on energy and I was sleepy and all these things, and I hadn't left the booth in a while. And I've got friends that are always like taking care of me. But the Glens, Michael and Alicia Glenn, like have been taking care of me since before they were a couple officially. And I just shot Michael a message or Alicia a message. I was like, hey, can you guys bring me a coffee? And they did, and they saved my life. So I'm literally telling you right here, right now, I would not be breathing at this point in the juncture had they not brought me a cup of coffee on Saturday. Super real. And it was good though. There was a super drunk dude who was dressed as a Thor. Hey Hubs. James, what's up, dude? There was a super drunk Thor who came by and like asked me about the booth and said, so you're religious? And I went, and he's like, you believe in a higher power? I'm like, yes. But then he bought a copy of the D&D book and, it was really good. I had an enamel pen of Himmel, the hero from Freerin, that I didn't personally want, so I gave it to the first Himmel that I saw at the show on Saturday. Made his day. That was cool. Made a good Danhausen sketch. Met a really great Legend of Zelda cosplayer, and she was really encouraged with the books and stuff. And I don't know, it was just really good blessing and interaction. I saw a great T-shirt that said "Bring Red Hood's helmet back." Julie says to get a slight buzz at Comic-Con is expensive. Listen, these people were paying money for alcohol, for sure. But yeah, they're still in there. They didn't slow them down. I got to see two of my friends from Lumberton that were there. I drew a good Naruto sketches. You can see some of the sketches. You can even see the cup of coffee that the Glens brought me that saved my life. But then Chopper sitting on it in our photos from day 3. But Saturday was a good day. It was just super crowded, and there were so many people that it was borderline unproductive. It was borderline unproductive in the fact that people were so frustrated and so upset with it. Yeah, Julie says the drinks are like $14 for a small one. Yeah, it's bananas. I was going to say, I took a TikTok showing the traffic jam on Saturday and posted it, and it is now the most successful TikTok on the Faith and Fandom TikTok channel. I just started a Faith and Fandom one like 2 months ago, and this one video got like 30,000 views and like 2,000 likes and a bajillion comments because people were experiencing the traffic jam. But it was real. Saturday I just grabbed some Taco Bell, went to sleep, and then somebody came by early, either late Saturday or early Sunday, and just kind of like reminded me and encouraged me that no one can reach people the same way that I can reach people. Not that people can't do the same thing, but they were just really encouraging in how they expressed it. And Sunday morning, got up, got ready for Geek Church, and made sure all my stuff was together. And the room for Geek Church was already unlocked, so I went in first thing and left all my stuff in there for Geek Church, so I didn't have to like lug it up to the room. And I just left like the mics and the guitars and everything in the room. And yeah, so went to the booth for about an hour, went off to Geek Church, and like got in there, got it set up, and people chatted and everything for a while. And outside of like 7 chairs on the front row, I feel like every chair was full in the room. You can look at the pictures. You can make your own distinctions in that. I haven't put a full number on it, but it was definitely, you can look and see that the room was pretty darn full. The Glens also brought me coffee at church too, because they're holding me down. And Ashley and Deborah from Litmus Cosplay, and Ashley just ushered, which was super nice. Julie says you have a huge heart of gold. I'm trying, homie. I'm just trying to hold my own heart together some days. But usually have like a countdown. We chatted with people, and then we did right before a service. I always give a disclaimer, by the way, if you want to listen to the service is already posted on our socials and on our podcast channel. But as I was prepping for the service, I said, hey, listen, if you thought this was a joke or a parody or a satire or any of those things, this is not that. We're going to have church, like for real church. It's just going to have a geeky theme. And if that's not what you're here for, that's fine, but you need to be able to be respectful of the people who did choose to come here for that. And so I said that, and like one person literally jumped up and ran out of the room, which, there's usually one that was there for like, I guess, less than pure motives. But then I also say I'm also recording this for accountability's sake, because I'm not dumb. And so had the service. We talked about brokenness and my spinal issues and Naruto. And one guy came up to me at the end of service. There's a lot of good encouragement that came from the service, but one guy came up to me at the end of the service that said that he had come in there because he thought it was a joke, but he stayed and he was really glad. And he said that he got something out of that service when he hadn't gone out of before, and that he had actually brought a guy with him who had never gone to church service before in his life. So that was neat. And not to call out people's business or anything, but if you're aware, my friends with the brothers Boyd, Chris lost his wife earlier this year, and I was doing a message on brokenness with him and his daughter there, and that was rough. I didn't change the message because they were there, but by golly, did I want to. Because that was like, man, that's going to suck to talk about brokenness with all that y'all have been through. But they were appreciative, and one of the songs that I picked ended up being one of the songs from their funeral service, memorial service for her. So it worked out. Yeah. I had a really good conversation with the 21 Pilots mom about lyrics and stuff like that. My friend Wendell came through. We talked about booth space and ways to use things better. My friend Julie says brokenness creates a space to heal and grow. Absolutely it does. I've not gone down to the show floor at Galaxycon in maybe 3 years, just because they moved us to the 4th floor and it's hard to get down there. And the voice actress for Freerun was down there, and I wasn't going to go, but my friend Julie, who has helped me run the booth, convinced me to get up and go down and meet Freerun, which I did, which was really nice. And she was delightful, and I got an autographed, like, Pokemon style card from Freerun's voice actress and a photo with her, and it was good. Yeah, all that was, it was really solid. And let me see my last little group of photos. Chewy's Den also wrote me a letter and made me a sketch from Nehemiah, which was just beautiful. I got to see my friend Deborah, not just Lana, but also Deborah Ulmer this weekend, which was a blessing. See Natalie. I got to see a lot of cool people. And this was probably one of the spaces that reminded me that GalaxyCon really is like a homecoming of being able to meet with con friends. And there are people that I only see there once a year. But man, it just genuinely was. Saturday was a rough day in terms of people. And I know that the convention center is planning on expanding. But it was a rough day in terms of like just overcrowdedness. But it was good. I also was selling my daughter Carmen's pens because she left me a note to sell her pens, and she did really good. I think she did the best that she's done at any event, which was nice. And it was not my best GalaxyCon financially, but also don't feel like it was ill received. The attorney books did well. A lot of people really liked the burnt up hardback that had the damage. That is kind of like a sales pitch thing, and telling people about the scavenger hunt that's in it really helped too. But I felt well received. I felt like the opportunities I was given, I got to capitalize on, and at Geek Church and stuff turned out really well. So I'm signed up for next year. I really wish space would be different, but I'm signed up for next year. But yeah, that's about how GalaxyCon Raleigh went. My friends Katie and the Glens and Deborah and Ashley really helped make all of it possible. Katie helped me load out, which was great. But yeah, having friends that are watching out for you makes a big difference, and that are encouraging me. And I'm grateful. I stopped at Smithfield on the way out and ate some chicken and then drove home and passed out. I had one casualty of this journey, and it's the fact that I left my Senshi cosplay helmet from Delicious in Dungeon in the car, when I went to work on Monday, and it kind of melted. It's not beyond repair, but it definitely would need some love to be able to fit on a human head again. So we're gonna see. We're gonna see if I can fix my helmet at some point in time. But yeah, I also bought my daughter Bella a Leon Kennedy keychain from Resident Evil because she likes Leon. That's about it overall. A lot of this show, I'm literally at the show floor for 12 hours at a time. So there's not a lot. I got to talk to Scott Ward while I was there, who also sent me a devotional from Dungeon Crawler Carl, which we're going to end up putting on the website in the very near future. But that's it for the Artist Alley Aftermath podcast for this. I'm going to take a moment and thank our Patreon supporters and the people that help make this stuff possible. And then I'm going to record the Pull List podcast with CJ. But Lance James, Zach T, Roshan, it was good to talk to Roshan's family this weekend. Ryan Felton, Jessica Luttrell, Jackie Kraft, Kelly Townsend, Alan Wallace, Fab Quack, was great to see you. Rivka and Tristan Birch, Dot Winston, Michelle Stewart, Lynn Turner, David Brooks, Jeff Weimer, Jamie Montgomery, the Coleman family, Jonathan Herman, Ron Petit. It was good talking to you even while I was at the show via text. Gear Saber Cosplay, Scott Ward, Alicia Glenn, Jason Crutchfield, Mike Perna, Zach Harris, Caleb Grimm, Jeanette Skaggs. I missed the Skaggses at Galaxycon. Sarah Lewis, Patrick Gale, Rebecca Godlove, and Adam Davis. Thank you all for being the encouragements that you are and helping make all this stuff possible. And you really do. Also, shout out to the Reynolds family for what you do as well. And to my friend in the Minion onesie that gave us the donation at the show as well, and Chris too. But yeah, thank y'all for taking the time to listen, to encourage, and I pray that things go well for y'all. And I got 3 shows coming up. I will be in Kannapolis, North Carolina on Saturday at Kannapolis Microcon. The following week I'll be at Greenville Comic-Con in Greenville, North Carolina. And then 2 weeks later I'll be at Soda City Comic-Con in Columbia, South Carolina. But thanks y'all for listening, and I hope to see you all at a con real.